Tonight on Another Thing About Tartan, we welcome Linda James all the way from Canada to tell us her story. Linda has been working for some time to get the Plaid du Quebec registered as the official tartan for the province of Quebec, and we can't wait to find out more. So welcome Linda.
Hi, nice to be with you this afternoon.
Yeah,
It's
thank you so much.
afternoon here, your evening.
Yes, yeah, with the time difference, evening here and afternoon in Canada.
Yeah.
So where in Quebec is it you're joining us from, Linda?
I live in a small town of about 3,000 people called Ormstown. It's 45 minutes southwest of Montreal.
Ah,
I'm originally from Montreal, was born in Montreal and lived there for uh, half my life. And my
oh,
husband and I decided to moved to the country. We were working
yeah.
for ourselves, and we decided that time to get out of the rat race and move to the
Yeah, of
country.
course. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, the only place I've ever been in Quebec is Montreal, so
exactly.
a good place to visit. So I hear you first discovered the Quebec tartan back in the 90s. So how was it you first came across the tartan?
Well, when I moved to, actually, we moved to a smaller town. We moved to Dewitville, and when I was living there, I didn't know anybody. We knew nobody when we moved out here. And about 3 weeks after moving here, I was invited to a Christmas party for the Women's Institute, which I'd never heard of before either. And
Yeah.
so I joined that. And that was in 95 that I joined. And in 98, um, our provincial group decided that they wanted the members to start wearing the Quebec tartan when
Oh,
we go to special meetings and events. And that's when I first heard of the tartan. And actually,
yeah.
we did have a Klein and Tinker, which is a fabric manufacturer. They mostly made school uniforms and
Oh,
tartans. And they did a run of the tartan for us. And
amazing.
but they've since gone out of business. They're in another small town just up. I don't know if you're in miles or kilometers, but it's 15 kilometers
A
up the
bit of,
road.
a bit of both. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not far from us. So,
Oh,
and
great.
that's where, and they encouraged us to do vests, or some ladies do kilts and skirts, and one lady actually has a pantsuit.
Oh,
And
amazing.
because I do a lot of sewing, I used to sew all my own clothes. So I was making vests and stuff like that for some of the
Yeah.
ladies. And
Oh,
it
brilliant.
was and I always liked the tartan. So
Yeah. So was
and
it an easy decision for the group to choose the tartan, or were there other options that you had to
oh
vote
no,
on?
no, it was just actually she was one of the former presidents of the province, and she was also a member of the Eastern Star, and the Eastern Star, which is the women's portion of the Masons.
Okay.
They also wear the Quebec tartan at
Oh,
gatherings and that. And she just came into the meeting one day and said, "Well, I think we should start wearing it." And
yeah.
everybody said, "Yeah, looks nice, okay." And we were getting ready for a large conference that was coming up in a couple of years' time, which involved the federal group of the Women's Institute and the ACWW, which is the Associated Country Women of the World, which
Uh-huh.
is a group of different organizations that belong, and we do work around the world. And the Women's Institute is part of that. So, and
Oh,
apparently it's very a large group in England and
right.
stuff like that. So that's when, and they said no, because this conference was coming up. They thought, because at other meetings, other countries, they would wear their national dress and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they thought we should do something like that. So,
Yeah. Well,
and
it's
that's
nice
how it
to,
started.
yeah, celebrate the local area, isn't it? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. So, Since you first learnt about the tartan, you've obviously started your project to have the tartan officially recognised as the province's tartan. So, what sparked your interest in that project?
Well, my husband and I all did craft shows. We would go to craft shows. And I was at a craft show one day, and I saw an advertisement for an event that the Scottish Society of Montreal was putting on. And there was a thing about National Tartan Day and the act that the National Assembly, which is our Quebec uh, Parliament, our provincial parliament, is called the National
Mhm.
Assembly.
Okay.
There was an act that they had adopted the Tartan Day and that, and I said, "Oh, that's interesting." So I went online to look at what it was all involved,
Yeah.
and when I was looking there, I saw all the tartans. There's a map of Canada showing all the different tartans.
Yeah.
And when I was looking on that, I discovered, oh, Quebec has never officially adopted the tartan, which I never realized, and most people don't realize, that it has to be an official act in the provincial parliament to
Right.
actually say that this is your tartan, and none of
Yeah.
us ever knew that.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, it's time to look into it. So I
Definitely.
approached my member. She's in Quebec. It's called the MNA, which is the member of the National Assembly, the elected representative for the provincial
Right.
government. And I approached her, and to my surprise, she was very interested in the project and went forward with it. And I approached the Women's Institute, the provincial, I'm county president for my
Okay.
area, and I'm on the board of directors for the province. And
Brilliant.
so I approached at our annual general meeting, I approached them and said that I was going to be asking on behalf of the Women's Institute that the tartan be recognized and adopted as the provincial tartan. And
Yeah.
I had full support from them, but I also had a lot of people that said, oh, it'll never be done because of the politics in Quebec. And they said, well,
Right.
we're English, they won't do it. So, but
Okay.
it
Yeah.
has been very well received, not just by the party
Yeah.
that's representing, but also by
Hmm.
other parties in Quebec as
Oh, okay.
well. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
great to hear. So, how did you go about gaining support for the petition then?
Well, it was mainly through our members of the Women's Institute, family and friends,
Yeah.
and uh, the local newspaper in Huntington here decided to do an article on it when they heard about it because
Yeah.
there's a lot of Scottish in this area.
Yeah. I was
In
lucky
fact,
enough to get to see the
We have the
article.
Scotch concession, and
Ah,
so,
there you go.
anyways, yeah. So they did an article and then they did a press release, and it was picked up by one of the TV stations, Global News, in Montreal. And they did an interview with me, and it was from there it just blossomed. And
I can
actually, if you go to Google and put in my name and Quebec Tartan, there's
imagine.
a
Yeah.
whole
Yeah. 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 But you didn't expect to become a media star as a result of the project.
No, certainly. I didn't. As my husband would have said, my 15 minutes of fame.
There you go.
Unfortunately, my husband passed away last year because he was very helpful in all this because my French is limited and he was fully
Ah,
bilingual. So he would
yeah.
go places with me, and but everywhere I went, they spoke to me in English. And actually,
Oh,
my MNA, Claire Isabel, she speaks very little English, but whenever we meet, she insists that she's going to practice her English with me.
okay. Yeah, well, when I was in Montreal, we went to the Montreal Highland Games. So yeah, that tested my high school French quite a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah. Luckily, my colleague Anna can speak French, so yeah, between us, we got by, but it was definitely a challenge.
It was funny because when we started craft shows, I would speak to people, and my husband would just look at the other person and, what is she trying to say?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's
My French
probably how
wasn't that.
customers looked at me too. So yeah, in good company. So I hear that your heritage is actually Irish opposed to Scottish, but do you feel like maybe it's your Celtic roots that have drawn you to the tartan?
I love all tartans. And actually, I discovered um, we never spoke about my father's side of the family. I only met my grandfather once. There was conflict, and so we never. And my uncles always told me, and my father always told me we were Irish. And
Yeah.
about 5 years after my father died, I found out that we were actually from Newfoundland.
Ah, okay.
And Newfoundland is a lot of Irish. When they came over, they
Right.
settled in Newfoundland, and so I have and more Irish blood. And
Yeah.
my father and two of his sisters had red hair, so that's
Yeah.
the Irish.
Yeah.
and,
But I think
but
we're Celtic cousins, so there's a great affinity between the two.
yes, yes, yes.
So, how will you actually celebrate if and when the tartan does become officially adopted?
We haven't actually thought of that yet because I'm very superstitious and I don't
Ah,
want to
okay.
jinx it.
Of course, well, maybe that's
Because we've had a couple of setbacks. Of course, I started this in 2019, and of course,
yeah,
2020 was COVID.
yeah,
Everything
exactly.
got put aside. And then this year, just when we were ready to do the press release in December, of course, the next outbreak of COVID started and everything
Yeah,
was shut down again. And we
yeah.
only had till February 10th to sign the petition. And
Ah,
so
okay.
it was a scramble in January to get
Yeah, I can
everything done.
imagine.
And so I really thought, oh, we're not going. We had no limit as to how many signatures. And really, the reason it started was because this is being handled by the Minister of Justice. And the Minister of Justice went to my M&A and said, who is Linda Janes? And why does she want the tartan adopted? And
Yeah,
Claire said, no, it's not just her, it's the Women's Institute and it's other people, the Scottish. And
yeah,
so he said, well, ask her to do a petition just to say
yeah,
that it wasn't just her that was
yeah,
interested
yeah.
in it. So,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
Well, at least then you can prove how many people are fans of the tartan.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad that despite the setbacks, you've still been able to progress. So yeah,
and
you've kept on.
actually, right now, excuse me for interrupting, right now it is on the last leg. The final draft
Oh,
has been, for the motion, has been given to the Minister of Justice. It is now in his hands. But we have an
oh,
election coming up, so we're just
yeah.
hoping that it's going to get done before the election. But I was assured that even if it doesn't get done before the election, it won't be dropped. We don't have to
Oh,
start over. It will
oh,
continue.
well,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when I was doing some research, I saw that the Plaid du Quebec was designed by David Webster of a firm called Rotex back in 1965. So can
Yeah.
you tell me any more about the design of the tartans and maybe what the colours mean?
Okay. Yes, I have that. Put my glasses on. Actually, David Weiser, he designed, um, they were designed for 1967, the centennial of Canada. He had
Ah,
designed three tartans. He designed the Ontario tartan and he also designed the Canada tartan, the maple
ah,
leaf tartan that
maple
was
leaf.
adopted by Canada. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, the Plaid du Quebec, this tartan owes its inspiration to the provincial coat of arms, which in turn reflects the history of the province. The colors of the tartan are taken from the 3 horizontal divisions of the shield. The blue is for the fields of the upper division containing 3 fleurs-de-lis, which is on our provincial flags, the fleurs-de-lis. The green is for the sprig of maple leaves on the lower division. The red is for the background of the center division. The gold is for the lion rampant in the 3rd division, and also for the crown of the crest. The white is for the scroll with the motto, Je me souviens, I remember. And that's the colors of the tartan.
Yeah, well, it's so nice to hear that there is so much significance behind every of the colours, you know. Everyone is well thought out. Yeah. And I also noticed when researching the tartan that it was actually used in a blazer from the 1976 Montreal Olympics. And what was really special about that blazer is they also embroidered the Olympic rings within the red square of the tartan. So did you know that the tartan had been used within the Olympics?
No, I didn't know. I went looking for it after you mentioned it to me. I went looking for it and couldn't find it. I did find an article that said that it had been done, but couldn't find an actual photo of the tartan. Now there were okay, that would be nice. I'd love to see it. There were a couple of tartans that were developed, designed as sports tartans for the Olympics. They were different colors, and they are, some people confuse them and say, no, that's the Quebec tartan, but it was for the Olympics, it was sport tartans that they were doing.
Yeah. There you go. So, but it's cool to know some of these facts behind the tartan as well. So,
well, when you look up some of them, that's where I found them. But officially, on the map of Canada, the one that we are using is the one that is considered to be the official tartan of Quebec. So,
fantastic. So the Scottish history in Quebec goes back around 4 centuries and is really marked in Montreal through various events like the Montreal Highland Games I mentioned earlier, the St Andrew's Ball, and institutions like McGill University. So can you tell me any more about the Scottish community within Quebec?
Actually, I know very little about the Scottish community, but I used to attend the Highland Games quite regularly because it was in Verdun, which is the area of Montreal that I lived in. And actually, the grounds where the Highland Games were, we had a public garden. And my husband and I had a plot in the public garden, and it was right beside. And I loved the bagpipes. And my mother used to be a vendor at the Highland Games because my mother did craft shows as well. And she would dress, we both dressed teddy bears. We would put them in kilts, and I make teddy bears actually, and purses, and I make them with the tartan. And so we would go to the Highland Games, and also up in Maxville in Ontario, we would go to the Highland Games up there. So it's,
when we came over, we did Maxville and then came over to Montreal. So it was a great weekend.
Yes,
we had a lot of fun.
Did you go to Muir's Bakery when you were in Maxville?
Oh no, I didn't.
For Scottish meat pies?
Oh, is that the place to go? Oh well, if I'm back this summer, or definitely if not this summer, then in the next few years, then I'll add that to my list. The top tip for anyone out there. So and so
actually, Muir's was originally in Montreal, in Verdun, and I used to go there as a child.
Oh, there you go. Oh, so then it moved from there over to Maxville?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet you were disappointed when they moved then.
No, we regularly go there. My brother comes down about every 2 months. He lives in Toronto, and now that I'm alone, he comes to visit, and we go places. And it's usually on our list. We phone and make our order. Scottish
yeah, make
meat
sure they've
pies
got
and
it.
yeah, meat pies and Empire cookies.
Oh, Empire cookies. Yeah, I had one just over the weekend. Yeah, so
Love them.
yeah, it's so funny things that we don't necessarily like that. I don't think of that being particularly Scottish, but then we just grow up with it, surrounded by it. So to us, we're just like, oh yeah, it's just a thing that's everywhere. And then you go beyond Scotland, you're like, oh no, that actually is Scottish. So
Yeah, well, I never really knew, but because my grandfather on my mother's side was from Bristol, England.
okay,
So I grew up with a lot of British food and
yeah,
yeah, and
very
that.
cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. So, Scottish Canadians are people of Scottish descent or heritage living in Canada, and as the third largest ethnic group in Canada and amongst the first Europeans to settle in the country, Scottish people have certainly made a large impact on Canadian culture. And so then, as we mentioned earlier, the same person who designed the Quebec tartan also designed Canada's maple leaf tartan, which had for a long time liked Quebec tartan being an unofficial tartan, so the unofficial national tartan. But in 2011, it became the unofficial symbol of Canada. So as a Canadian, how did it make you feel to see this join Canada's most significant emblems, such as the coat of arms and the national flag of Canada?
Actually, to be very honest, we never knew it happened. It
Oh,
was
okay.
not very well publicized, and
Hmm.
I just found out when I was looking through history of the different tartans, the different
Yeah,
provinces, and that it had been it bypassed our news
yeah.
altogether, and which
Oh,
is a shame. And it
yeah.
is not very well shown when you go to Ottawa. It is not very well displayed, and
Right.
the province that really displays their tartan the most is Nova Scotia.
Yeah. Well,
And
that
I
makes
would like
sense.
to, yeah, I would like to push more provinces to, when you go into tourist information places, that they
Hmm.
show the provincial tartans, that
Yeah,
they display it a little more. And I
yeah,
think the Canadian tartan should be displayed a little
yeah,
more. And it's a
yeah.
beautiful tartan as well.
Yeah, it is
And
really nice, isn't it? Yeah.
yeah, actually, I have some of the Newfoundland tartan, which is not one of my favorites. It's not,
No.
no, it's
But
kind
you
of
still
dull,
got
I'm
to
afraid.
represent there too. Yeah. Well, maybe that should be our next mission, joint mission, to have the tartans more displayed more prominently.
Well, I'm probably going to. The St. Andrew's Society has helped me quite a bit with the advertising of the petition and that. So I will probably approach them and say maybe we should work
Team
on,
up. Yeah.
yeah, getting a little more recognition across Canada
Yeah.
for the different tartans and
Yeah.
get the provinces to display a little more of their
Yeah.
tartans and
Oh. Well, we'll
yeah.
definitely get behind that campaign.
Yeah, I think that's my next project.
Well, like you say, you've got all of our support here, so
Well, I
look
really
forward to seeing
appreciate
that. Oh,
and I
yeah,
really appreciate your helping with the design, the thread
oh,
count
yeah,
for us. So
yeah, yeah. Well, no, that I mean, we design tartans and we work with tartans all the time, so yeah, we're happy to help you write out the thread count as part of the petition to have the tartan registered. So
yeah,
yes, like I say, we'll keep our fingers crossed. So.
yeah.
Yeah. And earlier we mentioned your Irish heritage, and a lot of people don't actually realise that all of the counties and provinces of tartan also have tartans. So you mentioned you've also got the Newfoundland tartan, but do you have any Irish tartans at all?
Not that I know of. That I've worked with a lot of tartans in the crafts that I do. People would bring me their different family tartans and
Oh,
ask
okay,
me to
yeah,
make things, and I have my little bear sitting with me that I've made with the Quebec Tartan, and
Oh,
I make
hmm.
purses and scarves, and right now I've been making face masks and
Yeah,
with the different tartans, and so that's basically when someone brings me a tartan, but
yeah.
I don't have any of the other ones per se.
Oh, no. Oh, well, something for you to look into.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, my cousin is now doing family history, so maybe he
Ah,
can find out some
yeah.
of the family if we have a tartan, because I have not been able to find if there is a tartan for us or not.
Oh,
So,
well, I'll have a look as well, because often with the Irish tartans, opposed to each family having their own tartan, so with the Irish names, a lot of them, rather than having their own tartan, it would be where the name originated, so which county, and then you would wear the tartan for the county.
oh,
So,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like I say, I will also do some investigation and see if I can help you narrow that down at all.
Well, like I say, I'm trying to find out if we've really come from Ireland, but like I say, Newfoundland, it was
Yeah,
mainly the Irish that settled
yeah,
there, and
yeah.
it wasn't part of Canada at that time. So,
Right.
but,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. And have you ever visited Scotland or Ireland then?
No, no,
No.
I don't fly because of
Oh,
health reasons. I can't fly, so
oh,
I've
that's,
never. My brother has been over and
yeah.
visiting. My brother travels a lot.
Yeah.
He loves
Oh.
to travel, and
Oh.
he has been
Yeah.
over that way. But I've never been
Yeah.
that far.
No.
I've driven to Mexico, but that's
Oh wow.
anywhere
Drive.
on North America.
Yeah.
I've been all across
Yeah.
Canada and
Yeah.
a lot
So
in the States.
yeah. Well, being such an expert on Canada, then, if we come to visit Canada, what are your must-do places to go and see?
Well, depending on which part of Canada, the West Coast is beautiful with the Rocky Mountains, of course. It's a
Hmm. Yeah.
beautiful area. And in Quebec, well, there's always Montreal, but actually, I prefer Quebec City, which is
Ah,
the
okay.
capital of Quebec.
Yeah.
They have a much nicer area for the old part of town. And if you go past Quebec City, the mountain region there, La Malbaie, Tadoussac is where the whales are, and the mountains are incredible. It's part of the Canadian Shield, and there's fjords, and 1 minute you're at sea level, the next minute you're 1,000 feet above
Yeah.
sea level in the
Oh, wow.
mountains, and so
Yeah.
it's a beautiful area, and of course
Oh,
the Maritimes with the ocean and
yeah.
that it's a nice area, but
Oh,
Niagara Falls as well. But
yeah.
unfortunately, the prairies are really rather dull. They're very flat, and
Yeah.
you
Well, I
drive
have
through them with
family.
your eyes closed.
Yeah, I have family in Hamilton, so not too far from Niagara Falls. So I've been lucky enough to go there a few times, but definitely got a lot more
Actually,
exploring to do.
yeah, my father was born in Hamilton.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how long they lived there.
Hmm.
Not very long, I don't think. And
Oh, okay.
that's what we're trying to find out, because his birth certificate was not registered in Hamilton. We don't know where.
Oh,
We have
okay.
his baptism papers, but could
Hmm.
never find a birth certificate for him.
Oh, a bit of a mystery then.
Yep, yep.
Oh, well, good luck in your search.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Linda, and sharing your insights and stories. And like I say, best wishes with the project, and all of the tartan team here look forward to celebrating when the tartan is officially adopted.
Thank you, thank you. And
Yeah.
I really appreciate you having me on today for this interview. It's been very interesting doing this project, I can tell you.
Yeah,
It's
I can
met a
imagine.
lot of
Yeah.
wonderful people, and I'm hoping to go to the Highland Games this year in July. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
So
well, hopefully that could be the celebration then, if it's all gone
yeah,
through by then. Yeah.
we're hoping before that it will be done. So
Yeah.
it's
Oh, well.
yeah.
Fingers crossed, not too long now then.
Exactly. And I hope that if you do come to Canada for another visit that you'll be in touch with me, because I'd love to
Yeah.
meet you in person.
Yeah, likewise, absolutely. Well, we're certainly hoping to get back for some more Highland Games. If not this summer, then definitely next year. So, yes.
Very good. Thank you very
Perfect.
much for having me on today.
No